To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll get roll recorded. Before we move down the agenda, we have a couple items to show. I wish we had more board members. But about a month and a half ago, myself and Vice President White started the board Twitter page. So I want all the board members to be able to see that, and also for the public. We put board meetings, just what's going on in the school. I'm pretty much more of a retweeter. I retweet what everybody else already tweeted. So, but just to give everybody an idea from the board and also from the public, we've heard a lot about people in the public asking us to do that, so that they can keep up with meetings or different things because they just don't do it online. It's just a way for us to get information out there and pass along what's going on in the building. If you go back to the top. We'll just mention that little wrestler is Nico Emili. Mr. Emili, how old is he? 7 years old. He's 12-0, right? So we threw that up there. I retweet and steal pictures, so if you post it, I'm going to take it. All right, so that's that. And we talked about it about a month ago, and some teachers invited me to their buildings to do the mannequin challenge with some of their classes. So I was able to leave work early and have fun with some kids. One kid, we told him what to do, but we didn't tell him he should breathe. So he kind of like got dizzy and fell out. And we brought him back. So we made sure to tell all the kids, breathe, just don't move. So it was a good time, but they have a quick video that the technology department did. We wanted to use the song that all the mannequin challenges use. However, we couldn't find a clean version, so we didn't get to it. We put our own music in there. So now we're going to go to number 2, athletics. Mr. Obi is not here. He had to stay late at work. So letter A, Mr. Pokrivsak with our fall scholar athletes and fall athletic session report, season report.
Unfortunately, Mr. Pinnabone, there's some nights I'm watching our teams, and they stand out on the court like mannequins. Thank you again for a few minutes to present our fall athletics. And I have to thank one person in attendance that helps me put this together. That's Robin Catalano, one of my secretaries, because she's here for her daughter, Dominique. So thank you, Robin. Okay, Interscholastic Athletics Disclosure Act. That's on our website. This year, booster clubs donated approximately $121,572, and that's a slight increase over last year's figures. So again, thank you to our booster clubs and everything they do with helping the athletic department run smoothly. Our scholar athlete character council first. Matt Horace, senior male. Senior female Dominique Catalan, who is here with us. Our junior males are Christopher Hess, not only then Jody Hess's son. And junior females are Michaela Roach and Leanna Deegan. Great student athletes with us, and they're representing Easton at those meetings. Now I'll call up the fall scholar athletes one at a time. Girls soccer, Jaylan Bedoya. And if the scholar athlete can get their medal and then go around and shake the board member's hand, we have a certificate. Okay, Jaylan did not make it tonight. Okay, boys soccer, Keith Rager. Keith is here, right? Congratulations, Keith. And if you want to start with Mrs. Hess and go around, congratulations.
Congratulations. Good job.
And Keith, any college plans or future plans after high school that you know of?
So I did early decision to Bucknell University, and I got in. So
Congratulations. Okay, field hockey, Dominique Catalano. Same thing. I know Dominique's plans because I'm all working in the office, but I'll let her reveal to everybody what her plans are.
I'm playing field hockey and continuing my pre-medical at Westchester.
Congratulations. Gives some athletic scholarship money also to play field hockey, so that helps a lot. Girls volleyball, Tiffany Ferreira. Congratulations. And Tiffany, your future plans?
I applied to the pre-med or biology programs at the University of Pittsburgh, Florida State, and a bunch of others, but those are my top two.
Good. Congratulations. Okay, golf, Ben Raven. Congratulations. And then your future plans?
I got accepted into Pitt for computer science, and I'm still waiting on a couple other decisions.
Congratulations. Boys cross country, Michael Couch. Congratulations and thank you. Thank you. Yeah, sure. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Michael, your plans?
I plan on studying biomedical engineering, but I haven't made a college decision yet. I'm waiting on the regular application announcement.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
So Olivia George is not here. She plays girls basketball for us, and I'm heading back up on the hill in a few minutes to get ready for that girls basketball game. Trevor Williams, football. Congratulations, Trev. Thank you. Sorry. Congratulations, champion. And Trevor, your future plans?
My future plans, I want to become a mechanical engineer, and then colleges I've been looking at are Ohio State, West Virginia, Temple, Pittsburgh, and I'm still waiting for a few others.
Congratulations. Last but not least, girls tennis, Nellie Hoffline. Okay. Congratulations. Thank you. And what a run the girls tennis team had this past fall, deep into the playoffs, the furthest that any girls tennis team has ever gone, and what a great run they had out in Hershey, the state playoffs and championships. So, your future plans?
I'm just studying education at Kingsbury University.
Yes. When we look at their grade point averages for the student athletes and the scholar athletes, it's incredible with the other work that they do also. Okay, our fall athletic season, there's just some rough numbers there, and I started to put next to it if they went up or down just a little bit from the previous year. Nothing major there. The next one, and again, same thing. At the bottom there, fall athletes, total, we had 581, and the number that left or cut the team, or cut from the team, are about 87, so pretty consistent year after year. Some fall highlights. Next page. Okay. Cross country. What is that? Can you go back one or two to one more? There we go. Okay, varsity boys cross country there, dual meet record. Varsity girls cross country, dual meet champions. League second place, and District 11 second place, and it shows what their overall record was. Field hockey is next there. You can see their EPC and District 11 playoffs and all their teams' overall records. Varsity football, record there, District 11 playoffs, and again, records on the bottom. And varsity golf with their record there. On the soccer, District 11 playoffs were there. Girls soccer, EPC and District 11 playoffs. And then girls tennis, obviously, EPC tournament and District 11 team champions. And in the state of Pennsylvania, they were third place. And they had numerous league and District 11 singles and doubles champions and medals. And then girls volleyball, you can see their team and their records there. Okay? Some of the fall trophies that we accomplished and brought back with us: girls cross country, girls soccer, girls tennis, has a few. Football won on Thanksgiving Day. We get those two trophies back. And just recently, competitive spirit, you can call them cheerleading, but it's competitive spirit at this point. EPC champions and District 11 champions, and that's the first time they won both in the same year. So congratulations to them. I will leave Friday morning with Coach Fulmer and her girls and her staff to go to Hershey for state championships. They compete first, I think, at 1 o'clock on Friday, and then we'll see after that where they qualify. That's rough to read, but I believe you have it in front of you. Just a rough figure of how many kids were ineligible for a week throughout the season. Again, Robin keeps track of all those athletes on a weekly basis, and we total them up for this report. Okay, next one. Fall sports medicine, physical exams checked. We do this in June before school lets out. Up about 61 from last year. We collect money. Mr. Simonette likes to see that figure for $20 a physical that we give with the help of St. Luke's. And then at the bottom here, we can see some injury evaluations that we do. And then again, there's impact testing. 402 came to that. And they're tested now, and they're good for a 2-year cycle. And at the bottom there, you can see some thank yous to some of our student trainers, just like we have student teachers that helped us from the local colleges. So thank you to them. Okay, next page, St. Luke's. Again, you can read through all that. It's our 4th year in collaboration with them, with a variety of trainers and doctors that they have brought with them, the free sports clinics that they give to our athletes during the week and on weekends. It's unbelievable. There are times we have an athlete injured on an away meet, away game, and before they even get back to our facility, our trainers have already contacted St. Luke's. They already have a doctor in place, an appointment made to get them priority and get them seen, hopefully within 24 hours at the most. And they've worked very well with us and our staff on getting those appointments as timely as possible. Okay, next page. Due to the hard work of Mark Brown from St. Luke's, contracted with us, the high school was awarded the Safe Sports School Award, first team. And this award is presented by the National Athletic Trainers Association, and that will run from December of 2016 to November of 2019. What we equate that to in the athletic training world is essentially what we do for accreditation. And they will go through that cycle again in 2019 to be reaccredited, if you want to call us that, which means it has a whole list of things that we must do to meet. And Mr. John Hawk can explain that in a minute. So if we go to the next page, that's the banner that's up in the wall in the hallway by the training room. And then on the next page are some of the St. Luke's representatives that we have. And I'll invite Mr. John Hawk to come up, and he can introduce a few of them. And thank you, St. Luke's, for everything that you do. Thank you, John.
Board members, it's a pleasure to be here this evening. I'm actually here as a representative of the Eastern Athletic Trainers Association, which is from Maine down to Delaware, but also St. Luke's University Health Network, where I serve as the Senior Director of Sports Medicine. And what I want to say about this award is that, first of all, this is the first school in the Lehigh Valley that St. Luke's has partnered with that we have taken to the level of a first team recognition for safe sports school. And we're very proud of that. And it's really, it really is due to the commitment of the school board and the administration and your athletic director and his staff, and then of course the fine athletic trainers that you have here, Roe Gilbert, Tracy Lenore, and of course Mark Brown and Andrew Neal, who have been working with you this year. Mark was really the one who helped champion this, along with John Ostrowski, who's been here this year, and then Aaron Boggs, who's one of my staff members, who kind of oversees the application process. It very much is like an accreditation process where you go through a self-study, you have to meet certain criteria, and then you send that off to the National Athletic Trainers Association. They review that, and if you're successful, you can be a first team award recipient. So really what it speaks to is it speaks to the commitment that the school board has, that the school district has, and the staff and the athletic administration has for their students and keeping them safe. And we're just so proud to be partnered with Easton Area School District and all the fine student athletes that you have here. It was great hearing about all their achievements. Also with me tonight, I just want to recognize I have Jim Reedy, who is our program manager here on the East region. So Jim kind of oversees some of the operations on this side. Dr. Hercules is in the back there, and of course he was here a bunch this year and has continued to come and check on the athletes. And Jen Schultz, who is my senior liaison, who helped really in the nerve center back there at our center at Moravian. So we're very proud of this. So on behalf of the National Athletic Trainers Association, it's my pleasure to present the school board with this recognition of the first team award for being a safe sports school and showing that level of commitment to your student athletes. So congratulations to Easton Area School District. One other recognition that came in, I want John to share that because it has ties.
Good evening. I'm John Ostrowski, one of the athletic trainers that helps in the network, and I reached out to Representative Robert Freeman, who's a graduate in 1975 of Easton Area High School, and let him know of the award. And it's unfortunate he couldn't make it this evening, but he had a nice little certificate printed up for everyone, so I just wanted to share that with you, recognizing Easton Area High School and the district for all their hard work and commitment to the welfare and health and safety of our student athletes.
In addition to everything St. Luke's does, one of the nice things that I enjoy, they keep our parents at a comfort level when their student or athlete is injured. As a parent, that's probably one of the hardest things to go through. And they've been very, very cooperative with our parents in understanding the process and helping them through that. Sometimes a season-ending injury, sometimes a minor injury, but they're front people that see that parent and that injury, take care of them well, and can keep them comforted, which is a big deal, and especially in time of injury for an athlete. So again, thank you, St. Luke's, for everything you people do, and all the people that are helping us at Easton. So thank you.
I just have a question for John. Does Mr. Graham ever get down here, or is he too busy making his workout video?
Yeah, he's too busy. If you follow him on Twitter or Facebook, he's too busy making videos.
I bless him a lot for that. Always making videos at like 5 in the morning.
You should. We appreciate it.
I don't know if that
Thanks, guys.
I don't know if he sleeps.
I don't think so.
I don't know if he does. Okay, next slide.
Jim,
Yes.
excuse me, could I just, in response to this and this kind of recognition, if I could, on behalf of the board and the administration, just extend to St. Luke's our deep appreciation for the level of service and the cooperation and partnership that you've given us as a school district. I must say that we've all been very pleased with the feedback that we've gotten from parents, students, and our athletic department in terms of your commitment to our students and our athletes and our program in general. So on behalf of all of us, thank you, and we sit here very happy that we have this association and this partnership with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here's a list of some student athletes that committed to scholarships to attend various colleges and universities. Mackenzie Myers, women's basketball, Boston University. Gabby Blashik, women's basketball, going to Kutztown. Jacqueline Fine, women's lacrosse, going to go to Lafayette. Dominique Catalano, field hockey, Westchester. And Alexis Jenkins, softball, Millerville University. That was our first round of college signings there. And those athletes signed because they're getting a financial commitment from that college to help their parents bill in their bill in the future. Just a quick revenue update. Mr. Simonet and I usually anticipate about $200,000 in revenue, again, from athletic fees that come in, ticket sales and so on, and that is almost unheard of in the greater Lehigh Valley. Again, most schools are around 40 to 60,000 range, and we are up close to 2,000 almost yearly. Special event revenue, 30,000 projected. We're at about 10,000, 098. Football, 130,000 anticipated. We're at about 72, 73,000 right now. And usually we incur some money then from the Thanksgiving game, and that report will be done in February. Wrestling season tickets, that's only as of December, so we're down there. Girls basketball, we're down a couple thousand there, but again, these are very early reports based on only the December games, nothing in January yet. And then boys basketball has that revenue figure there. Okay, that concludes my report. I have girls basketball to get back up on the hill to middle school. And at this point, I'll entertain any questions you may have on anything that we presented.
The board? Is there anyone from the public who would like to be heard on agenda items, athletic agenda items only? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. President.
At this point, I think everybody's going to get up and leave. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Exactly, not it. But we
It's the hottest thing in the town.
Well, thank you all for staying. You would be fired if you left. Number 3, finance, Mr. Feynman.
Yes, it's my privilege to introduce the new director of CIT this evening, Adrienne Jones. And she will be presenting the budget in place of Ron Roth, who has retired.
His last official day is this Friday, the 20th, and he was anticipating presenting at this particular meeting, but I was kind of thrown into it, and now's better time than no time, right?
Let me just add, I'm sorry that the rest of the board didn't get the going away cupcakes that we had at the meeting the other day. They were bacon flavored. They were amazing.
Bacon flavored cupcakes. In our culinary arts, they were practicing for an upcoming challenge, and it was quite an interesting twist, bacon and sweet. So, anyways, if you can pass around the packets there, we give everyone an opportunity to get a copy of it.
Ms. Jones, is this different than the ones we have?
Forgive me, I'm not sure, because I believe the ones that you've received are more detailed.
Okay.
What this is really just a broad overview and a summary. I'm going to just take a few moments to go through some of the summary information, highlight some information, and then we'll go from there if you have any questions. Also, I do have with me this evening Mrs. Miller in the back of the room. She's our business manager. She should be able to answer any detailed questions that you may have. Again, this is the summary worksheet that was handed out. I know it's still coming around the table. You should have been given the detailed budget for your review previously. I'm not sure if there are any new board members in the room this evening. I know I am new to this, but for this evening, this is just going to be a brief summary, a brief overview. If there are questions that we're not able to answer this evening, we will certainly get that information to you as soon as possible. And we also have Mr. Weiss, who sits on our board. In addition, if we have any other questions, it might be something we can jump in and assist with. And Mr. Vanderbilt, I know you're still sitting on the committee as well, assisting us as your time permits. So thank you for that. All right. So the first page is really an overall summary. If you could just turn to the first page. That's a summary of our CIT operating budget. It is including the 5 districts. At the very top, you're going to see the proposed budget for next year in comparison to the current year. You will also see there that the operating expense is a 2.28% increase. There are anticipated revenues and subsidies that we will receive, which do help offset the cost of the operating budget to our schools. In the middle of the page, you are going to see the actual cost to the districts. The percentage of the increase to the districts is slightly higher than the percentage of the overall operating cost. And again, I'll explain that a little bit more in detail. That's really because we are anticipating a slight decrease in some of the subsidies and some of the revenue that we receive from the state. So that's the difference there. However, when you come to the bottom of the page here, you will see the debt service added in for the renovation project that took place, and that's actually reducing a little bit. So the bottom line at the bottom of the page is the actual cost to the districts that's going up by just a touch over 2%. It's going up 2.04%. And that was our goal this year, was to stay right around the 2% overall increase. So the change between last year and this year is under 2% at 1.95%. And that's kind of the big picture on that first page of the overall summary. Okay. The next 2 pages are a little bit more complicated. These spreadsheets take the budget, break it down into the 5 participating school districts. At the top of the page there, you're going to see that is the eligible enrollment for the 5 districts, which is the number of students in each high school who could potentially attend CIT. And that accounts for 20% of our budget. Obviously, the bigger districts are going to pay a higher share of that 20%, and that's because there's more students who are eligible to attend our school. Moving down to the next component there, that is the actual 3-year average. This is the actual enrollment of the number of students who attend CIT by district. Obviously, again, the larger districts tend to send more students. The second column you can see is Easton. You'll see the enrollment went from 224 students to 242 students, and then in 15-16, 235 students. So it dropped slightly, but not much. It has, maintained about the same. Towards the bottom of the page there, you will find the cost projection after your subsidies are reproduced. There's also a comparison that's just above the bottom that's comparing next year, and that's showing a difference of $73,737, which is a change of about 3.3%. I just want to remind each of the districts, or each of you, that the district's percentage increase is different from the overall percentage because of those enrollment shifts. And from year to year, that changes, and that's by looking at your eligible enrollment and the actual enrollment on that chart. Okay? And you can see there, while the school's overall costs are going up by about 2%, they do vary by district. Easton, for instance, is 3.3%, Bangor 2.2%, Nazareth is 3.2%. Nargill's much bigger this particular budget, and Wilson is actually seeing a reduction. And again, that will fluctuate from year to year. Just in case you're wondering how that gets set up, this is driven by the Articles of Agreement that was put in place several years ago, and that's how it gets determined. Okay? The top of the next page adds in the debt service. Easton's debt service, there are 2 of them. The first one is about $137,000, and the second one is about $317,000. When you come to the very bottom of that sheet, you will see that the total proposed district share for Easton is about $2.7 million, or an increase of $69,951, or 2.6%. Okay. The next page includes several charts that you may already be familiar with because they are the same accounting charts that all public schools use, and they break down the cost of the school into the various categories that you see here. The two charts that are in the middle show the category percentage for the overall budget, and that's compared next year versus this current year. And at the very bottom, it's showing the different elements of benefits and health insurance. And we know that health insurance is a very large part of many organizations' overall budget and operating costs. So, a little bit more detail on that. If you look over on the next page, this is the distribution of unspent revenues. Okay, this will appear as a separate addendum item when you are considering this for voting. You vote for the budget, and then also the distribution of unspent funds will be voted upon separately. Right? These unspent funds, the distribution of this is from the 14-15 school year. As you can see here, we had a remaining balance of $370,000 at the end of that school year. The money does belong to the 5 districts. It goes back to the 5 districts. There are some years that we may request to keep some of the remaining funds for a couple of reasons. The first reason that we might request to keep some of the remaining funds is for capital reserve. Another reason is to help us with the health insurance trust fund and to put some money in there to try to, build an amount in there. Also, this current proposal for next year's budget is to return $200,000 to the 5 districts, and you will see across the page how each district would get a share of that $200,000, and then we're proposing that CIT keeps $170,000 to put in capital reserves for emergency purposes. As a district, you are allowed to have fund balances, but career technical centers are not allowed to have fund balances, and that's why each year we look at any remaining funds from the 2 years previous and determine how much money would be sent back or returned to the districts and how much money we would be asking for capital reserves or to offset some of those health costs in the trust. Okay? This year we're only asking to put money in capital reserves. The other thing is, this year we're proposing to give back 54%, and then 46% will remain with capital reserves. These recommendations come after careful consideration. Also, it does vary from year to year based on our needs. This year we felt the need to put it back into capital reserves. We did just recently have a renovation project, and we're looking to build that capital reserve back up for emergency purposes. All right? If you're wondering why there's leftover money at the end of each year, you can flip over to the next page and we'll just give you a quick breakdown on that, and then we'll wrap it up here and entertain any questions. All right, so the next page provides really a breakdown of the unspent funds that we're proposing to return back to the districts. Just looking at some of the information here, there are some things that are uncontrollable when we're budgeting for the upcoming year. And the biggest one there at the top line item, you'll see staff changes and staff leaves. That's about $74,700 in savings. And that could be due to a number of things. Staff members retiring, that could be staff members leaving who work full-time, paraeducators, and we've taken them down to part-time status without benefits. It could also be a staff member who has, left, or they're going out on disability or medical leave or something where we're not consuming the cost of their benefits. So there's a number of things that could be related to. All right, the next item is the health insurance. Obviously, there's a number of factors with that, but the biggest factor with health insurance is that we do have some staff members who do not choose to take the benefits. However, we have to budget for that in anticipation that they are, they have the right to choose to come to us and use that benefit. Okay? So just moving on down, you can take a look. Their electricity was $46,000. Year to year, that goes up and down. It varies, again, greatly. And then you can just go down and see there's some things for repair. There's telecommunications, advertising, supplies. And those are just items where, when it came down to it, we had a little bit of remaining funds there. Just looking at some miscellaneous unspent funds, that was about 0.8% of the budget. But again, overall, a lot of these items that we're budgeted for are sometimes uncontrollable that we can't always predict up front, and that's why there's, it seems like such a large amount of unspent funds, and you might ask, why is there so much money left over that we're, looking to return to you and put some in capital reserves, and that's really the overall gist of it, okay? So then, if you take a look at the next page, here. This is taking the information from the front page and is really highlighting more specifically to your district. So you will see for Easton District, next year's proposed budget compared to the current year. You heard me say that that's going up to about 3.34%. In the middle, you will also see a breakdown of your eligible students and then your actual enrollment and your share. And then at the bottom, you'll see your debt service. And ultimately, when you pull all of that together, that shows that it's actually going up 2.62, or just under $70,000 would be the total cost to Easton District for next year. All right. However, while your budget is going up a small percent, keep in mind what I just got done reviewing, which was that amount of unspent funds from 2 years ago. So that's where we'll wrap it up, and we'll turn to the last page here. All right. You'll see on the final page, this is a chart that's going to show the net effect. And if you look down the column for Easton, it shows a 2.62% increase, or a change of $69,952. However, we would be returning $71,040. So really the net effect that we would be returning is actually going to give you $1,088. Okay? So again, you can see how that varies across multiple districts, and really what drives that is the actual enrollment versus the eligible enrollment, and then taking a look at the district's percentage of the share changes greatly from year to year. Okay. So this time, again, that was a very quick walkthrough. You should have received the detailed budget. If you have any additional questions, we can try to answer them the best we can. And if not, and you think of something at a later time, you can certainly contact us.
Any questions for Adrian?
I have one.
Sure.
Adrian, I love CIT. I went there. My son went there.
Yes.
Just some questions that we've had over the years, and I'm going to ask you. When I look at some of your expenditures,
okay,
like number 600 supplies and things,
yes,
we know that you guys seem every year to budget rather high, and then we always get money back, which we are appreciative of. Is there any way we can look at, knowing that we get money back every year, maybe not budgeting so high, so our percentage isn't as high up front, because yes, we get it back, or we keep it, take it off the next year, but that would serve us, I think, in this time, a lot of schools, if we can keep some of that up front.
So when you look at that distribution or description, I should say, of unspent funds, you'll see if we go down to the supplies category that you're referencing, that's about $31,000 that was unspent within supplies. So I hear what you're saying is, can we do a better job at budgeting appropriately for those supplies, or why do we have that additional money available? And there are times throughout the year when grants become available. We look at trying to be cost efficient. For example, in the welding program, if there's additional scrap metal, we'll take that scrap metal and we'll go and we'll take it and we'll try to get some return funds on it, and then perhaps use that towards some supplies or things within the students' program. So I do hear what you're saying. And
you guys do a great job. I think every year since I've been on the board, this is my 6th year.
Okay.
You guys always give money back. We always give money back. And we were just, we were talking to myself and Reinhardt over the years, and I know we mentioned it to Dr. Ross in the past. If,
is there a way
if CIT budget not so excessively, again, we appreciate it coming back at the end when it does, but we like to, with everything going on, everybody's pulling the belts extra tight, I think. So we like to have it, not go out in the first place if we can.
Absolutely, and I understand that. And again, when you look at this, a bulk of it is that change in staff and staffing, and also the health insurance, which we have to budget for the health insurance, even though I believe we have 5 staff members, 5 or 6 at this point, who don't take it. They can come back at any time and take it. So that's an area that I don't know as though we would be able to cut that up front. in addition to unanticipated staff changes, retirements. We've had a really high turnover of retirements and new staff members coming in. But looking at the other areas, trying to focus on even repairs and maintenance, we're trying to project out a 5-year plan for some of those things that are going to need replacements. However, I don't know if they're going to break this year, or if they're going to break next year, or if they're going to break the year after. So we can certainly try to take this and see what we can do to do a better job of tightening that up.
The last question I have, under 800 and 900,
Okay.
other objects, other financial uses, can you just give me an idea of what are just a few other objects or other financial uses? I know one is 4% of the budget, the other is 11%.
Okay.
So are you able to assist me with this specifically?
When we get into the 800s, you're talking about things like dues and fees, things of that nature. You're also looking at debt service interest as part of the 800s, and within the 900s, you're looking primarily at our debt service principal and things of that nature.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All I saw was Mr. Geiger.
Sorry about that. With the 800s, you're talking about debt service interest, things of that nature. You're talking about dues and fees, items like that. With the 900s, you're getting into principal.
No, I just want to thank you again for all your hard work and welcome you. Don't know if it's hard to fill those shoes, but Adrian's got a handle on it. The board is very excited to have her in charge. So thank you. Thank you, Deb, too. She does a lot of work.
I do appreciate it. And again, if you review the detailed budget, if you think of questions, certainly reach out to myself and Mrs. Miller, and we will assist you as needed. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening.
Moving on. Yeah, I guess you're doing the budget.
I am. Mr. Simonetta had a family emergency today, so I'll be filling in for him and going through the first look of our 17-18 budget. Mr. Reinhardt and I will do our best to field your questions, but if there are any questions that we're unable to answer in his absence, we'll certainly jot those down and get those answers to you in a timely fashion. Because the timeline that I'll present at the conclusion of this presentation does require some action on behalf of the districts within the next few weeks. So the first look of the budget that's on the screen for 17-18 shows it shows 3 columns with our 15-16 budget, the 16-17, which we're currently in, and then our first look at the 17-18 budget. You'll see across the rows of instruction and support services, you'll see some variations, some fairly drastic variations, going upward and downward, increases and decreases. Those are a result of coding changes that were made within the state. So as the state changes the way we have to code our expenditures, that's why you'll see things on different lines that may really be the same purchase, but they are just changing the line based on the code that the state allocates for us. We are looking at a $4.613 million increase over last year's budget, and I'll break that out for you in future slides. But what's really driving that $4.613 million increase is the salary and PSERS and Social Security, with a fairly substantial percentage of that. The capital projects that we reviewed with the board in November were including $200,000 toward those capital projects in this budget. And the new charter school, the Easton Arts Charter School that we approved in November, we have to look at approximately $1.375 million toward this budget for that charter school. So when we're looking at the tax levy impact specifically, the state establishes the index on an annual basis. And the index that the state has established for the 17-18 school year is a 3.1% index or increase. The state identifies this as a reasonable percentage for all school districts across the state of Pennsylvania for them to consider based on the increases that are facing public education. So 3.1% is the most that all districts across the state of Pennsylvania can consider to increase their budgets. But beyond that, then, the state also has a formula that allows districts who have higher expenditures that go above and beyond that 3.1% to look at exceptions. And it requires the districts to apply for those exceptions. Our calculation in this year shows that we can apply for 1.7% of exceptions, and those are based on our special education costs, the capital projects, and then other employee benefits such as PSERS. So our district, while the state cap is at 3.1%, we can also consider going up the 4.8% by applying for those exceptions. What we're able to do within the, if you can go back, sorry. What we're able to do within the 3.1% that the state has established as the index is that we are preparing a budget and proposing a budget ultimately down the line that will include full-day kindergarten. It will include the capital projects that we shared with you in November. And it also allows for us to reinstate a few staff members to impact our class size. We're able to responsibly do that all within the 3.1% that the state allows for us to go to at the index. The reason that we should consider the exceptions and applying for those exceptions is for the PSERS that I talked about, what's driving our increase, but also the charter school. We have unknowns right now within those areas, or specifically within the charter school area. And the way that the exceptions are established, we have to make a decision as a school district prior to February 15th if we are going to apply for those exceptions. That's the timeline that the state has set up for us. That does not mean that if we apply for those exceptions that we have to use them. We can still opt at the time of the proposed final budget in May, we can still opt not to use the exceptions, but we are recommending that we at least apply for those, because if January 31st passes and we don't have a resolution that says that we aren't seeking exceptions, then we can't go after them at all. And that's the way that the state has set up the timeline. It kind of forces districts to apply for something that they may not use, but ultimately it puts us in the position to, at least as we're developing our proposed final budget for May, it gives us that ability to really look at what those costs, specifically with the charter school, are going to more accurately reflect. So on the tax levy impact, we'll see that our average assessment is $62,000, and you see the millage rates. The annual increase that 3.1% increase would give to the average assessed house would be a $115 annual increase, which equates to approximately $10 a month, a little less than $10 a month. If we seek, or if we apply for and use those exceptions, and we were to go to 4.8%, then the annual increase for the average assessed home in our district would be $177, and with the monthly increase of approximately $15.
Alyssa, as we're looking at it, so in other words, under the exceptions do allow for charter schools and PSERS are part of the exception rule?
Well, the reason that you can seek exceptions is for capital projects, special ed, and other employee benefits. But we're looking at our entire budget and saying that if we were to, that we have those higher costs potentially in charter school and PSERS, and if we didn't have the charter school, that's what the mill essentially is equivalent to. The 1 mil is the charter school increase.
But the actual category itself doesn't allow for the exception to be a charter school.
That would be correct. But that is one of the reasons why you can seek exceptions. But it all then goes into your budget formula.
Because I knew there was only a category of certain items that could fall under
It's
that.
capital projects, special ed, and other employee benefits. Right.
Of other significance in our timeline and our conversations is the additional full-time, full-day kindergarten. And we want to raise the board's sensitivity to that as a change in our program because, for obvious reasons, parents who will be impacted by that, are beginning to seek childcare for next year, trying to arrange schedules and so forth. It would be a tremendous benefit for us to be able to send out a message to them that the district does intend to expand its full-day K to all schools and to all students. There is also the matter of being able to advocate for our program within the community because there are lots of, I think there are certainly a number of parents who enroll their children in full-day programs, private and otherwise, in the school district. So we would like to be able to make sure that parents know early on that the district is offering this change in our program for all students in all schools. I think as the information was sent out, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about it later on, there are a significant number of school districts, majority of the school districts within the IU who offer full-day kindergarten programs. It's really a step we really feel we need to take, and we believe that we can do this.
What is the cost of the time?
Go ahead. We actually have that, and we'll have that conversation a little bit later under the academic portion of the meeting. I just wanted to relate that now as it applies to Alyssa's comment about the need for us to be able to move more quickly.
We're assuming 3 staff members required for full-day kindergarten, but that will also, we also have a savings of approximately $51,000 as a result of not operating midday transportation. So 3 staff members minus the $51,000.
Isn't that it?
We about 260,000.
Yeah.
Are those the same staff members that you talked about earlier? They're not the same staff members for decreasing the class size.
The class size would be at the middle school. So we're looking at a total of 5 that are included in this budget. 3 for full-day kindergarten and 2 for class size. Yes.
When we get to that other discussion, we could talk to you a little bit about the enrollment trends and what it looks like and why we might be able to shift some staff members around to help us out with this goal.
We're going to get more details before next week before we vote on the budget.
If you would let us know what the detail is that you're looking for. I know that what we're showing here tonight, if we were to look at the 3.1% as the index that we're going to, we would have to have a resolution at next week's board meeting on Tuesday night that indicates that we are not going to apply for exceptions. Whereas if we were willing to at least seek those exceptions, then we could hold a voting meeting prior to the committee meeting on September 7th, February 7th, indicating that we are applying for the exceptions. So the timeline that is presented here and is in your packets is based on if we are seeking exceptions or applying for exceptions. Whereas the timeline, if we are not doing so, would be that we have to have a motion on next week's agenda, and then we just default to May for the proposed final budget, with June being the target date for adoption.
Mr. Neely,
Are we going to go that late again? I know last year we ended up all.
We can always shoot for an earlier date, but we know that May 31st is the drop dead. June 10th being the date that it has to be proposed or presented to the public. June 30th for adoption.
School calendar such that we could.
We're always able to, but those are just the dates that the state sets for us.
Right.
Yeah.
We can move it up.
just, I know we don't have, unfortunately, first look at the budget, and we have some members out today. But Is there anyone on the board who is considering or would consider seeking exception to 4.8%? Nobody?
If we don't have to take it.
Correct. Correct.
I don't understand any reason for not holding something that we could grab if we need it, rather than throw it away, and if we need it, we're done. So, not necessarily saying we're going to do it, but why not hold it in reserve?
That's essentially what our philosophy is as an administrator, a team to recommend to the board.
Yeah, I'd like to see by next week the detail of, okay, if we only go 3.1, what do we really have? I mean, in detail. And, there's key items like, okay, let's do the full day kindergarten, but what else does it mean we have to cut out? And there's certain things we know we have to cut if we want to stay within that 3.1. I don't think we want to keep going back and forth for the next 4 months over that same thing, trying to get it down or whatever.
Right. Okay.
And I mean, probably another piece you have to consider, we've talked about previously, is where do we think the state budget's going to be, and probably have to budget for at least flat this year.
This is assuming flat state aid.
Okay.
Yes, we're not building a budget that's looking for any increases in any revenues from Harrisburg. This is based on what we've done in the past, what we've gotten in the past.
Yes, I consider the exceptions just so that we don't have to take them, just to get flexibility if needed. I agree.
I mean, I'm going to stick with where I've been for the past 6 years. I'm not going to waste anybody's time. I won't vote for the exceptions, even if we won't use them. I have no intentions of ever going above the index. So I wouldn't even waste the time of going for it. And for me, if the board is truly considering the possibility of voting for an increase over the index, then that's fine. Say yes and have it in your back pocket. But if you're not, don't waste the administration's time trying to do this and that if you know your intention is not to vote for that. There's no way I would vote to go above an index, and I'm hoping we can do whatever we have to do to accommodate our goals of what we need to do as a district to benefit everyone within that 3.1%, or I'd like to see options even coming under 3.1%. But for me, I wouldn't waste your time or anybody else's, or even give the impression that I would support going above the index, so I would not be interested in considering that.
I think in the interest of the students, and the taxpayers, if you look at the overall benefit to the taxpayer having an educated community, if you had to go above it, and if it was something that was worthwhile going for it, it's certainly not a popular stance, and I understand that. I don't especially when a popularity contest doing that. But by the same token, if we have to cut something that's necessary, when we could have put a couple bucks more into it and kept it, I would certainly be willing to do that.
I mean, personally, and I don't disagree with you about the educating the students and things, but I think we can offer the absolute best programs in the country right here at Easton, and if that means taxing the parents, the people out of their homes, and the kids not getting meals or the right meals or doing this, which we do have a lot of students, unfortunately, that are in that boat, it doesn't make sense. But also following the budget for the past 6 years and being in different negotiations and looking at different things, I personally feel that we can accomplish what we need to accomplish without going above the index. I feel that
would be my hope.
I feel that obviously it would take some work, but I have the utmost confidence in our financial team with Mike and his staff, our superintendent, our assistant superintendent, all our staff, and even the board, that I think we can accomplish what we need to accomplish and make sure our kids are getting what they need without going above the day. I just
We can do that.
I wouldn't even.
Better yet.
I just don't want to give, personally, I don't want to give the administration the idea that I would consider it, because I won't. So I'm hoping that we can do what we have to do to get what we have to get underneath the index.
The other thing that would be nice to see is your timeline laid out based on when we have our board meeting of what we expect to accomplish when. Because this is a little bit deceiving as far as, and I know we talked about it when we set the school calendar too, that our intent was to approve the final budget in May, and which meant, we're backing up, which if we're adopting the preliminary, back no later than February 15th, which I don't think that's a board meeting date. I think that's just again a state date.
That's a state date. That's why we were suggesting February 7th and doing a voting meeting prior to committee.
Then, then you don't have to do anything else because you have the preliminary done at that point. You can do the final in May, and then you're set to move ahead.
This time it is only showing the deadline. I do know that we can certainly do it earlier, and that's always been our intent. That's what we've done the past few years. So we will shoot for that certainly. I was just including the deadlines.
Okay, but we can get it set up with matching the board dates. On the charter school, is that the max number of students that can go there? And because that's what we're expecting, that will be the max number for this year, correct?
Well, we had a conversation about that. I don't think we're at the max there.
Okay. Oh, okay. That number could go higher if
It
they
could.
go more.
Yes. It could.
And again, it's rather difficult to set targets here because I don't know just how the charter school is going to be received. I don't know how close they're going to be to the caps that we placed in the approval document. So it's going to be very difficult for us to determine. It's another factor in our budgeting that really has no foundation in, there's no predictability to any of it. So we know and expect that this is a minimum, if you will.
And the other one of the other pieces we can break out is how much was really salary, how much was Peters, because Peters is the one that's a great big percent again, right, that was going up.
That's correct.
What's the actual percentage? Do you know?
I don't know.
Well, that is a sizable one.
Like
It is.
18 or
It's big,
something, right?
yeah.
It's even more, it's like
It's
20%.
It might even,
Yeah.
I guess that might be
No way people realize how many dollars we're
different. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not the salaries that are necessarily.
No, that's a very good point. It's the PCERS and the rise and the contribution to PCERS.
Yeah.
Good.
I think when we talk about the pieces issue, I always mention that crisis, a lot of that crisis is because the state didn't fund their share of it. So, if I keep saying PCERS, we're making it like the teachers are the villains when actually the teachers aren't the villains, they paid their part. The state decided that they're going to pull a political slight and show people what good money managers they are by stealing from that fund and not funding that fund properly. So that the teachers hold the bag if something went south on it. So I think anytime we mention PCERS, I think it's important to bring up the fact that the state didn't put the proper amount in when they were supposed to, and that's what led to this crisis.
And also it was for over a decade that we did that. It wasn't this year or two, it was like a decade.
Who's the governor then? That was Bill.
I believe it's Rich.
Rich.
Other questions or whatever on the budget?
So just a quick update for the recap. All the information you're going to put together, that's going to come out
In the briefing.
prior to Friday.
Any other questions from the board? Anyone in the public with comments or questions? Seeing none, conclusion is we'll have more details from next week.
Thank you. Number 4, academics.
Okay, so ready for K-12 update.
You received my update, so I'm not going to read through everything, but included in that update was a little blurb about the STEM challenge. Our teachers are excited to participate in that again. Kindergarten registration is coming up soon. Our parent-teacher conferences went seemingly well. And the big one on here for my portion is the Ready to Learn block grant. And I do want to talk about that very briefly. That's a grant that the district has received, which is a sizable amount. And as an administrative team, there are specific categories where we can budget those funds. But we met as an administrative team to talk about how that can best impact our students' education, as well as have an impact on our district level budget. I did receive a couple of questions from one of our board members related to the item that says book adoption. That was the elementary book adoptions from last year that were a 3-year expenditure. And that would be something that would have had to come out of our district budget, our Title I budget, our KTO budgets, in order to make that payment this year. So this is allowing us to utilize that money for other educational opportunities by taking it out of the block grant. And the other question that came up, you'll see at the bottom of the page there about 4 interventionist salaries. That too, they are not new interventionists. They're folks that have worked for us over the years, but that money would have had to come out of our district monies or Title I monies as well. So again, it's trying to capture some of those monies back for educational purposes and use the block grant for these expenditures where possible. The other portion on my report is a technology K-12 update written by Ann and Lisa. So if you have any questions on any of those items, I'm happy to answer them.
I don't have questions, but I just want to ask questions to Tracy. And I guess part of my thing is, I know it's been done in the past as far as using grant money for salaries. The concern I have with that is if the state or we don't receive those grants in the future, we now have to put that back in the budget. So,
They were budgeted items. Those
Right.
salaries were budgeted, so we were able just to capture that for this year. But you're right, in the future, if this weren't there, it would have to go back into our line items, either Title I or district budget.
So, in that sense, since we already had it budgeted, is there something else that these could be used for as far as programs and those types of things instead of taking it back out of taking the salaries out of the budget?
I mean, certainly we could. When working with Mr. Simonetta and the team, we do like to see that we're sharing some of this money for salaries, so that we're not just doing new and other things with the block grant that we're doing, that we're really using it to fund things that we're already doing within our district. So we did work just that percentage out so that 4 of them can be appropriated out of the block grant, knowing that we would have to move those back into the budget if we were to lose this. But that is something that the business office and Tracy and myself think is a sound move financially, fiscally.
Melissa, did we actually move it out, or do we keep those positions and everything in the budget? So in case they have to go back in, and does that not give us the excess revenue over expenditures then? I know.
I don't want to answer. I don't want to answer that question and speak out of turn.
Okay.
My short answer would be yes, but I don't want to answer that out of turn.
And I thought that's what we were doing all along.
I know you can't answer it, but I agree with Bob and with Jody. I mean, first of all, I like using the grant money for the salary. That's our biggest nut, and I like using that. But I don't like taking it out of the budget just because we have the grant, because I believe it's my understanding that in 09 or 08, we got a lot of grant money. We used it for salaries, and the grants ran out. It wasn't budgeted, and we were stuck. So
it's very dangerous.
Absolutely. So I agree.
Yeah, and that money then helps too if we have a one-time expenditure or whatever that we can use.
We can pull it, right. But I think I like using it for salaries as long as we can, but I want to keep it budgeted. Yeah. In case it runs out, we're not looking to cut.
In my response to Mrs. Hess, I did tell her that I would get back to her with a little bit more detail. Heather Yarnell, who oversees all of our federal grants, really worked closely with me on the number portion of that, so I can get a little bit more detail from her as well, and share her background. That's all for me, but we do have a couple of presentations tonight. So we have Mr. Randy Buck here from the Academy.
Good evening. My name is Randy Buck. I'm the principal of East Mary Academy, our district's alternative education school. And I want to just first of all thank you for affording me the opportunity to be in this position to serve this capacity and to take a few minutes to share a few highlights about East Mary Academy. East Mary Academy staff continues to provide high quality educational experiences in a highly responsive environment. Self-discipline and reflection is emphasized, which allows students to demonstrate growth both socially and academically. The staff at East Mary Academy continues to find ways to highlight student success. In a culture where small incremental progress often goes unnoticed, at EAA we take pride in making sure that we are celebrating those accomplishments, as we believe there's a direct correlation between that and long-term success. In keeping with both Easton Area Middle School and Easton Area High School's assessment calendar, Easton Area Academy is in the process of completing the CBT testing, as well as the Study Island benchmark assessment test, and utilizing that data to drive our decision making. Finally, I want to highlight the various partnerships, agencies, and services that are used on a daily basis to support our students at EAA. Some of those agencies and services include Communities in Schools, Recovery Revolutions, CareNet, Center for Human Change, Turning Point Lehigh Valley, Crime Victim Council, Current Institute of Technology, the Weller Center, and Touchstone Theaters, Young Ferris Lab, to name a few. In closing, again, I want to thank you for the opportunity for sharing this information. I look forward to your continued support of this.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
And then we also have Mr. Tanzas and Ms. Carmichael here to talk to you a little bit about the high school concerns.
All right, good evening. I want to talk about some of the changes. My name is Mr. Tanzas. I'm Michael Tanzas, just talking to the students. Michael Tanzas, I do teach computer science classes over at the high school. I'm with Carol Carmichael. She also does some of the AP, the new AP Computer Science Principles course that we offer. Can you go to the next slide? So some of the reasoning behind these new changes, they really are going to be just simply replacing other courses with something else. We're not adding anything dramatically different or new in terms of like we're going to need more personnel. One of the problems that we're having on the AP Computer Science level, and I see this when I go out to competitions, is a lack of students to really think computationally. The only way I can liken it is it's in a lot of ways that if the first math course you ever took was calculus, you probably have a little bit of a difficult time. So for one of the things that we're looking to do is kind of ease that gap, create a course in between, in addition to the AP Computer Science Principles course that we have. And the other thing we're trying to do, and this is really based off of what we're seeing when we go and interact with some of the best schools, some of the top schools for computer science. I'm looking to create a program along with Mrs. Carmichael that goes and emulates some of those best practices, those best ideas. So one of them is to have a course that precedes AP Computer Science, but then something that also allows them to go beyond that. Can you go to the next slide? So here's one of the two changes I'd like to make. One of them is to remove the honors introduction to networking. We've offered this class for a long time. However, it used to be a CTE program. We got funding for the program. A number of years ago, we lost that due to certification issues here. I've still been teaching the honors intro to networking, but the equipment is getting old and technology changes. So it's becoming a little bit of a problem in that regard. I'd look to replace that with honors introduction to programming. The other one is a course called honors programming in C#. I would look to replace that with a class called Advanced Data Structures. Can you go to the next slide? So the Honors Intro to Programming course, one of the things I'm looking to do with that is have students use, number one, give them exposure to some basic programming prior to taking the AP Computer Science course, and allow them to kind of get used to thinking in the mindset of how do you break down a problem in a way that a computer can understand it. So we all encourage problem solving throughout a number of different courses, but a little bit different mindset when you got to make a computer, which is really a dumb machine, to understand it. So it's such an attention to detail and how you break things down into minute steps. The other thing we're looking to do is a lot of my students have gone on to graduate, but come back to me and say they started out with one of two programming languages. They start out with Java, or they start out with Python. And we don't do anything with Python. So one of the ideas here was to give students an exposure to the Python language, which is a drastically more simplified sort of syntax for students as compared to the language that we use in AP Computer Science. So there would be that exposure as well. So we give them what they're going to need on the university level. Can you go to the next slide? So the next one is, this would be the follow-up course, which is Advanced Data Structures. What I'd be looking to do, and this is kind of modeling, to be honest with this course, we're kind of grabbing what Emmaus does. And Emmaus has a tendency to dominate on the state level and local levels pretty much everything that involves programming right now. And one of the reasons, though, is that they've joined something called the American Computer Science League. We've done that this year. We now have the AP Computer Science Principles. We're looking to create this class, which is a mirror of what they have as their kind of capstone class. It's going to follow what used to be the AP Computer Science AB curriculum. The reason the AB curriculum doesn't exist anymore is because there are not a lot of schools that even offer computer science. So we ran into the problem of the College Board in that if you don't have enough kids taking it, what's the point in funding the continuation of that particular exam? But Emmaus never dropped it. It obviously pays dividends for them, and we've seen a number of other top schools who have continued on in that endeavor. I'd like to go and replace the Honors C# programming course with the Advanced Data Structures course and give students who go and complete AP Computer Science an ability to stay something. Usually it's juniors that take AP Computer Science, but have seniors not drop the whole computer science endeavor and still have something to do. So that's kind of the idea here. So in the packet that should be in the board docs packet, I did outline some of the ideas for how we would see a continuum when a student enters into 9th grade all the way through 12th grade now. So that's the other idea of this, is to create a 9 through 12 type program that was very rigorous and would offer a lot of what they're going to need to know in computer science. All right, so as far as the program costs, a number of years ago, Code.org really started bringing to light this idea that not enough schools offer computer science, and we don't have enough students going into computer science programs. And the downside of that is that you're not seeing, you're ending up with employers who have a ton of jobs available, but there's just not enough people to go into those positions here. So what has happened is a number of organizations throughout the country have started to add, just give out and create all sorts of courses and resources and free stuff. So for this, there'll be no textbook costs. Everything will be sourced through 100% online free resources here. The delivery of the content, just this past fall, we updated our Moodle server, which is an online learning management system software. All the curriculum can be delivered through that. In fact, when my students take their AP Computer Science, they're actually able to program solutions to problems and test them through Moodle. So everything's very, very much, I want to say, included, and there's an ability to do that through the Moodle server. We are going to need 2 PC labs with 24 Windows 10 PCs. This past year, everything was upgraded in J300, so we also have that readily available for us. So no expenses in regards to that. So no expenses for curriculum, no upgrades to the Moodle server, no expenses for PC upgrade on labs. What it would do is there's a $750 annual fee to the Cisco Networking Support Academy. That would be eliminated. But for a student that wants to go and take intro to networking and any of the networking classes, it's still offered at CIT. So it would still be an option that they could go to CIT and do the full program through them. So for us, we get a lot of the benefits of having a full, complete 9 through 12 type of program in computer science. Any questions?
So you're saying that the bulk of the expense will be just getting the 24 Windows PCs?
That's what we already have.
We
already, yeah.
So we're gonna save $750.
Yeah. So it'll be $750 a year cheaper.
I can't go for that.
And not spending enough.
Much of a cost at all, then.
It's not different from where we had that, right?
Great.
Awesome.
Good job. Thank you.
Mr. Tanzos, I heard that you went home sick today. Thank you for coming back to present tonight. We appreciate you coming back to present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now Mrs. Neely. Thank you.
We touched on this a bit earlier, but more formally wanted to present to you a proposal to institute full-day kindergarten at all 7 of our elementary schools beginning next school year. A few years back in the 15-16 school year, the district began implementing full-day K at Cheston, March, and Paxtanosa. At that time, we knew the importance of early childhood education from a learning standpoint, a social, emotional standpoint. We didn't have the funds at that time to fully implement it all 7. So we opted to start with our 3 Title I schools based on their eligibility. But at that time, it was the goal of the administration to begin reviewing the possibility of implementing full-day K for the 17-18 school year. So we're coming to you this evening with a proposal to do so. We believe that we can do so with minimal impact to the 17-18 budget. The reason for that is it will require us to add 7 sections of full-day kindergarten across the district at Forks, Palmer, Shawnee, and Tracy. And again, when I say 7 sections, I'm projecting those numbers based on current kindergarten enrollment. So we look back a few years and we're looking at our kindergarten enrollment. Because we don't know what our kindergarten numbers will be next year, we are projecting the 7 sections additional. But again, those are based on current enrollment. After looking then at the addition of the 7 sections, I did an enrollment study and looking at the current enrollment K to 5. We have in 4th and 5th grade, we have 2 classes there where our enrollment is significantly higher than that of enrollment in other grade levels across the district. We actually have a similar bubble in 8th grade in our district. So 4th, 5th, and 8th have abnormally high enrollment. As our 5th grade transitions to the middle school, we will be, in our 4th to 5th and so on, we will be able to repurpose some of our elementary teachers or teaching positions, I should say, in order to get to those 7 sections. So we will have an additional 7 sections based on current numbers that we will be able to repurpose so that we're not adding any additional staff in order to implement full-day K, as far as full-day K in the classroom. Where we do have to look at adding staff in 3 of those positions that I mentioned earlier during the budget presentation come in because as we're adding sections at each elementary school, we also have to add LAMP positions. Those are the library, art, music, and phys ed. So as we're adding those additional sections of full-day kindergarten, we also have to add LAMP. So the 3 positions that we'll be looking at are music, 2 music, and 1 phys ed. And those are the 3 positions that we're going to be looking for, or looking at as additional, and those are the ones that are built into the budget. We will need to look at our library and art numbers as well, but the positions of music and phys ed are definite. Those are definite needs. So we've repurposed 7 positions to implement full day K, and then adding the LAMP positions, and that's what was reflected in the budget. As we mentioned earlier, we also have the midday runs, which are approximately $51,000, which will be eliminated. So we feel that we're able to do the full day K at very minimal impact to the budget, but pretty tremendous impact, I think, to the students coming into our district. We are one of only a few school districts in the IU that does not offer full day K experience for all of our students. That's something that we studied, we looked at, but we also wanted to make sure that when we came to the board and asked for the implementation of this, that we were able to do it and sustain it, which is why we had the phased rollout. But we do feel that we're at a point where we can do so within the budget that was presented this evening. So we are requesting that a motion be added to next week's agenda for the implementation of full day kindergarten at Forks, Tracy, Shawnee, and Palmer Elementary Schools. We do have our kindergarten registration dates already published, so this will allow families ample time to know that these are full day kindergarten programs across the 7 schools. Anybody have questions?
Our desire to want to move this along, as I said earlier, is, and as Alyssa just reiterated, it's based on this as it impacts on many families in the school district, and quite honestly impacts on us as a school system. We need to, look at making a big adjustment in the program and the curriculum, and make sure that we're on the right path to having things ready for implementation by summer.
Any other questions? So now we do the school calendar for 17-18.
Yeah.
School calendar.
Okay. The school calendar being presented this evening is pretty similar to the school calendar from this year. We have, as per the contract with the Teachers Association, there are 186 days next year for teachers. So those are the 6 in-service days that we planned throughout the year. Typically we do begin with 3 in-service days prior to the start of the school year, which those are included from August 22nd to 24th. First day for students being the 28th. And then our 2 in-service days that fall within the school year are November 10th and March 29th. We're again including the parent-teacher conferences for K-5 students in December, following that trimester schedule that we implemented this year. The last student day is May 31st, with the last teacher day as June 1st. Obviously, all of that subject to change with any snow days being added on. But again, a very similar calendar to this year, but wanted to put that out again from a planning standpoint. We like to get the draft calendar out for January.
So, any questions from the board? And I don't see any people in the public that want to be on agenda items. Any questions want to be heard? No? Seeing none. In summary, we had a K-12 update, and we had a presentation about computer science curriculum, and we're going to have that added to the agenda to next week at board meeting. Also, full day kindergarten and the calendar will be needed to be put on the agenda next week so that we can vote on that. And that's it.
Anyone on the board wish to have any more information on the full day K proposal? Anything beyond what we've given?
I'll probably have some as far as that and the budget then.
So now I guess we're up to other business.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Any other business, board members? Seeing none, anyone from the public to be heard on non-agenda items only? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn? Opposed? I'm sorry, all those in favor? Opposed? Meeting adjourned, thank you. Mr. Geiger.